Ready?
They are moving forward, a big crowd pushing up against that police line.
Freedom!
And we can also show...
Someone beside us has got a noisemaker too.
So you're saying that the protesters are pushing up against the police? Is that what it appears to be happening, Ashley?
Yes, we've seen a big crowd move forward and they're pushing, exactly. We're seeing a crowd actually move up towards the police line and much more congregating, pushing up against that line. If you can't hear me, it's because someone very close to us has got a noisemaker that he's making go off. But yes, we're seeing a congregation of people. We're also seeing some demonstrators getting up on a concrete block and standing up, hovering over top of police. There's about 3 people that are standing up now. Behind them, there are police standing on the top of vehicles.
And Ashley, just hold on there for a second because I want to bring in Evan Dyer, who's also... Evan, tell us what you're seeing where you are. And Evan Dyer, tell us what you're seeing where you are. Okay, sorry. This is just the scene, and I get maybe we can split the screen there and show some of that, and then we'll go back. We'll go back to Ashley because Evan wasn't able to hear me, Ashley. But so you know, Evan was saying where he is, which is quite near to where you are, that it was the police that were moving about 20 meters, pushing the crowd further south. But what you just witnessed would be, it would seem, would be the protesters pushing back against the police.
It looks like that, but you know what? Sometimes the police take a couple steps back. We saw that today where the police would move back a little bit, and then
there's a plow.
There's a plow coming up behind us. We're just going to move out of the way here. 1 second. So interesting that there's a street plow coming up ahead. So this appears to be, it's unclear who this is inside, but that is a street plow heading in towards the crowd there. Right towards protesters.
Is it plowing snow, or is it just
salting the sidewalk?
Salting the sidewalk.
He is salting the sidewalk, moving towards the police line. Everyone now is cheering, so it's not unclear who's inside. He's wearing a red jacket. It kind of looks like a city worker, but it's a strange move to be moving into this crowd up towards the police line and salting the road right now of all times. So it's unclear. Perhaps this is a demonstrator.
Yeah. All right, Ashley, hang on there. We're going to speak to Evan Dyer now, who I think can hear me. Evan, just tell us what you're seeing.
Yes, I can. Okay, so yes, indeed, that was a sidewalk street cleaner that just drove past us within a couple of feet of us. And although the man driving it was wearing an orange suit, a high-vis working suit, I don't think that was a city street cleaner. It looks like one of the protesters commandeered one of those vehicles. I can't be quite sure of that, but he was being followed by a crowd that was cheering him on, and he headed up towards the police line, which is about 20 meters, not even that, probably 15 meters from here. We're going to move a little bit closer and see what's happening with that if we can. But he's driving straight towards the police line, and he's honking his horn. And the crowd that you can see here includes people who've climbed up on top of this Jersey barrier watching. We can see the police line 15 yards away. There seems to be a little bit of pushing and shoving right now, but not as intense as a moment ago. The fence that they've put up is halfway down the block, and they're controlling that space. But we're actually, I'm sorry, I'm being told something here. Okay, we're being asked to move back here. So yeah, the crowd here essentially is what's left. The biggest part of this protest is now here. The people from other streets like Metcalfe and O'Connor have all concentrated here, and this is the biggest presence of protesters by far now on the streets of downtown Ottawa. They spread about a block down from halfway between the pedestrian street, the pedestrian mall of Sparks, and Queen, and then continue down Queen halfway towards the next street over, which is Albert. And the biggest concentration of people is right in this intersection where we're standing right now, the intersection of Queen and Bank Street. You know, we've seen at other times protesters get concerned about being trapped in from behind. We saw a little bit of a panic about an hour ago when some protesters were afraid police were going to try to come from behind and box them in. But that doesn't appear to be the strategy. We haven't seen that happening. Instead, the police just continue to come from one direction and try to push people southwards. and they're still leaving roads open. There's still a way to get out of here for those who want to. But if anything, I would say the crowd is actually growing a little bit. Earlier in the evening, we got the impression the crowd was shrinking, but now we're seeing more people coming out, I would say. And the crowd of about, what was about 300 to 400 people probably an hour ago now looks a little bit larger. It looks like there's probably 500 or 600 people now in this area.
And how would you describe the intensity or the atmosphere? That also seems to have changed, Evan.
Heads up for gas.
Well, you probably heard that comment of the man just walking by saying heads up for gas. So people have been pepper sprayed, and they've dropped back, and other protesters have helped them to clear their eyes out. So generally when that happens, tempers tend to fray and people get a little bit more excited, and we're certainly feeling that in the crowd right now. There's no hostility, no overt hostility towards us. We haven't seen people getting directly violent with police. At the same time, they're not obviously obeying the police order to clear the street. They're just sort of standing there, milling around, but definitely not showing an inclination to evacuate and give up this block. And really, this is the last half block that protesters still control in what you might call the real core Parliament area of downtown. Because the police have cleared all of Wellington Street, they've cleared all of Sparks Street, and they've put up fences to deny protesters the opportunity to return to those areas. That allows the police, of course, to concentrate their forces here. They don't have to line up behind those fences. Those fences are really very impenetrable barriers. So right now, that's what's happening here, is that the largest group of protesters are facing the largest group of police.
All right, Evan, we'll get you to hang on. Just want to bring in Ashley Burke for an update. And Ashley, maybe tell us where you are, remind us where you are, and just describe what you're seeing around you.
We're a bit farther back from Evan on Queen Street, kind of the back end of the crowd near the exit where protesters can walk away. And you can see behind us, some of the demonstrators have gotten on top and they are standing on the top of the police, on the top of the bus station in the background. There are about 4 of them there. Others are standing on a concrete barrier. Behind them, you've got police standing on top of one of their armored vehicles, and the police line's in the middle of it. And we can tell you that our understanding is that when this crowd kind of pushed towards, it's because back behind them, police want to move back a little bit because they are working on putting up a fencing behind them at the intersection in the back. That fencing I showed you earlier, it stretches all the way across near Sparks Street, and it is blocking off, they call it the secure zone. This is the area that police reclaimed earlier today and throughout the day, a long stretch right in front of Parliament Hill that is now completely gated off. And what the police are doing back there is working on getting those multiple layers of reinforcements in place so protesters cannot go in that area anymore. So fencing, concrete blocks, we saw all of that. At an earlier location, we saw machinery bringing in piles of gates to start putting up that reinforcement. They are doing this block by block to try and reinforce the area close to Parliament Hill.
And so far we know that there have been at least 170 arrests, perhaps more than that. But from what you've seen, Ashley, there have not been arrests. There has been a bit of back and forth between the police and the protesters, but you haven't seen people being taken away in plastic cuffs?
We haven't seen people arrested here right now from our vantage point, but there were 47 people by early afternoon that were arrested. And that police said that included those who threw canisters of gas at police earlier today, and some that had gas cans in their backpacks and also fireworks in their backpacks. So that just gives you a sense of some of the arrests. And out of the 170 arrests in total since this started, it's unclear how many people have actually been charged. That's something that we asked the Ottawa Police interim chief today to find out. We've heard reports from some of the demonstrators that they know individuals who were arrested and did not get charged. So it's a big question that we are still hoping to get answers to. And I think a key here, police today talked about how they're here on site. They've got a drone, a little red dot you can see in the sky. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep, we can see it.
Hovering over here.